Could one of you beat the Almighty? One of the most terrifying stands versus the almighty Quincy King. Who would win? Hello everyone. Today we're gonna be talking about one of you versus Yhwach using the Almighty. The reason I'm making this video derives from the fact that I get to talk about my two favorite manga series, and because both of these characters are known to tamper with the concept of fate, and they're the ultimate forces to be reckoned with within their respective universes. The objective of this is not to hammer into your skulls my way of thinking, but rather to sprightly debate fun questions and prospects regarding this topic. This is another one of those things that warrant its own 2-hour video worth of arguments, but I'm gonna keep it as concise as possible, because this way not only I can maintain the quality of the video consistent, but I can respect your time as well. Before I begin though, let me add that it would be appreciated if you could like this video and hit the subscribe button so you can help me continue to produce some more enjoyable content for you guys. Thank you very much. Now, without further ado, let's get to the video. I believe it would be more thoughtful and engaging to start things off by establishing the Almighty, since you may not be acquainted with it. It is critical that we understand the wielder of this ability before jumping to it right away. As a baby, Yhwach couldn't see, hear, speak, or move. Despite that, he was not hysterical, and he wouldn't have cried even if he could have, because he knew he'd go on living. The people around him treated Yhwach with great reverence, because everyone who touched him gradually gained what they did not have. This was because Yhwach held the power to partake his own soul. Anyone who touched him acquired a fragment of his soul, and those pieces healed the injuries their own souls couldn't. At the same time, as their wounds luxury healed, the many aspects of each person were all stored on the fractions of Yhwach's soul they had been gifted, until these fractions returned to Yhwach at the time of their proprietor's death. Though no one who touched Yhwach lived much longer, people continued to gather around him as he recaptured the fractions of his souls he'd shared. Yhwach's body began to take on function. In time, his deaf ears began to hear. He noticed that people began to call him by an unusual name, Yhwach. He understood that this was the name of the god these people worshipped, but he chose to take the name for himself anyway. Yhwach is the ancestor of all Quincy, who they venerate as their own king, and his blood flows in every Quincy. He eventually discovered a much more efficient way to distribute his soul, by sculpturing a ladder signifying a capability directly into another person's soul. He could partake his soul more deeply and with lesser power. Lilibaro was the first Quincy Yhwach granted a shrift to. At some point in history, Yhwach was given the letter A, which stands for Almighty. In over 200 years after his birth, Yhwach himself formed an army of Quincy, known as the Yhwach, which conquered the northern lands where Jugurn Heshwal and the village of Basby were located. 5 years later, he informed Zeidritz that he wanted to produce a new army. When Zeidritz pointed out how they conquered all near countries, Yhwach stated that they still had not conquered Soul Society, before revealing that he intended to produce an army called the Sternritter for that veritably purpose. Yhwach was born with the innate ability to distribute pieces of his soul to someone differently by being touched by them. Yhwach gains power by bestowing a capability, allowing its wielder to cultivate it, and then taking it back. In the distribution of his soul by Yhwach, the injuries that a person's soul couldn't heal on its own would eventually be cured. This power healed the physical, internal, and spiritual wails of those who touched Yhwach. As a person's afflictions were cured, all of their knowledge, abilities, and talents would be engraved on their soul piece they've taken from Yhwach. Those who were healed in this way had their lifetime drastically shortened. The enlarged soul fragment would return to Yhwach. He slugishly gained the use of his dormant motor functions and senses. The Almighty is mainly known to be a staple power of the Soul King, who uses it to watch over all 4 dimensions that comprise the Bleach universe: Wacomundus, Soul Society, the world of the living, and Hell. Due to being the son of the Soul King, the father of all Quincy inherited the Almighty, or at least a lesser version of it, that was still impressive enough to ignore the effects of Shirafudi Ichimonji, Ichibe's Bankai, which possesses absolute control over names, the very power source of the Bleach universe. To illustrate how crazy that is, just by writing the proper of a black ant in kanji on Yhwach, he made it so that he became as frail and weak as an ant. But it gets worse. Right at this point into the 1000-year blood war, we are fed a brief description of the Almighty right from the horse's mouth. I can know everything I see, and all powers I know take my side. Not only can they not be used to defeat me, they cannot even be used to harm me. Yet, we haven't even scratched the surface of what Yhwach is capable of, but it's not like he needs the ability to negate everything he sees to casually manhandle heavy weights, such as Kenpachi or Ichigo, which to the Quincy king equated to fighting with his eyes closed. After Yhwach was sealed, it took 900 years for his heart to start beating again, 90 years for him to regain his knowledge, and 9 years for him to regain his power. Had he opened his eyes before this final 9 years had completely passed, he might have been unfit to completely control his power and accidentally burgled his precious stern ritter of all power. With the activation of the Almighty, Yhwach reaches his full strength and gains 2 extra pupils in each eye, and with that power he nullified Ichibe's Futen Taisatsuryo, which consists of taking away all of the darkness in his opponent, including flesh, blood, and bones, until nothing is left. Their destruction is so absolute that they will not even reincarnate. The Almighty's power was further amplified when Yhwach absorbed the Soul King and Mimi Hagi. As a Quincy, Yhwach primarily absorbs spirit energy from the atmosphere and combines it with his own spirit energy to form all kinds of weapons and incantations. He has an easier time collecting this energy in surroundings with advanced absorption of reishi, similar to what he did to Soul Society and Wakomundo. Toru, like other rock humans, was abandoned by his mother as a baby and left in the forest. He soon sneaked the hornet's nest to continue his physical development. Roughly 17 years later, he progressed into his adult body, killing off the wasp colony in the process. He created his own name, just like other rock humans. His last name is unknown. It is also unknown if he stole another human's identity. He traveled to Moryu and entered society undetected. He's the architect behind the Lukakaka organization, using his stand to act as TG University Hospital's head doctor, Satoru Akifu. Along with the head doctor, Toru goes undercover as an ordinary part-time medical pupil at the hospital. Toru's main objective is to develop a revolutionary drug through the new Lokakaka to restructure the balance of power in society. He is ultimately revealed to be a stand user, possessing the disaster-causing Wonder of You, an automatic stand that causes anyone who indeed thinks about chasing the stand or Toru to experience a calamity onslaught. Wonder of You is able to create visions that can be transferred after a specific target. He can disguise himself and take on the appearance of a human, allowing him to interact with people. He can also produce illusions of himself, which can rapidly travel between places, appearing in transparent shells, like windows and picture frames. Wonder of You's capability is automatic and can be activated on anyone who looks at the doctor's back as an attempt to chase him or move towards him. While Wonder of You's power is active, targets will witness all types of conflict that do in the most ruinous manner possible. These disasters frequently involve an affected person constantly colliding with objects in the terrain, resulting in an injury far more severe than would be possible under normal circumstances. The ability trigger is fairly sensitive, as Mitsuba simply questioning Satoru Akifu's presence at the Higashikata residence was enough to activate it. The calamity's range is unknown, but it appears to be extremely large, as both Josuke and Mamezuku are affected despite being nowhere near Satoru Akifu's supposed whereabouts. The exact form the calamity's take varies, but it always involves turning aspects of the near terrain towards the target in a dangerous manner. Upon contact with any object under the influence of part of the calamity, the target receives an extremely disproportionate amount of damage, especially from impact. The damage the object can beget will only affect the target and not obstacles in the way or onlookers unaffected by the calamity. Objects touched directly by Wonder of You can be charged with calamitous energy as well, allowing the stand to produce more area hazards. However, another calamity will always follow shortly after if the target manages to avoid and survive a calamity. Now to the fight. Firstly, I want to debunk the argument that Shinigamis and Quincy's wouldn't be able to see stands and vice versa. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because stands, Shinigamis, and Quincy's are spiritual beings, or at the very least have a strong connection with spirituality. With that out the way, I've mentioned earlier that both the Almighty and Wonder of You have powers relating to fate manipulation, but there is a major difference between the two. While Wonder of You changes the entire flow of causality to inflict damage and fatal injuries to opponents, the Almighty goes much deeper, as Yhwach can select between infinite outcomes into unlimited parallel futures and bring any one of them into the present. And it is not just limited to Yhwach, it pretty much extends to anyone in existence. I've received numerous comments in my Wonder of You video saying that just by thinking about pursuing the doctor is enough to ensue calamity, and it makes sense, and this will absolutely happen to Yhwach. Beyond that, Wonder of You possesses what is arguably the most powerful thing in fiction, that being durability negation. But Yhwach has already received the worst form of punishment there is, which is being erased from existence by JJBA. And guess what? The Almighty denying that it ever happened. We discovered that anything Wonder of You does won't work on the Almighty, but can the Almighty defeat Wonder of You? Yes, it can. Quite simply actually, by searching the future where it got beaten by Soft and Wet Go Beyond and bringing the consequences of that event into the present. Yes, the winner of this fight is Yhwach. At the end it did seem a little bit one-sided, but that didn't take away the fun of discussing the possibilities of this what-if scenario. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. With that being said, thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one.